Hello, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Hello.
All right, please turn your camera
Hello.
if you can, everyone. Hi, so nice to see your face. Yeah, hi everyone. Well, today is Friday. It's been a long week. I'm sure that you enjoyed a lot of different activities and learned a lot of new information about sustainability. And while we are waiting for other students to join the class, I would like to offer you some small exercises that can help you in your studies that I use every day in my office, actually. So these are exercises to, well, it's called fitness for brain. I don't know if you ever done fitness for your brain. There is a study, scientific study that shows that the way how we use our hands and fingers, it directly impacts the speed of our thoughts. So for example, at home, I have different tools, you know, to do massage to my fingers, but at work, I don't have them. So I would like to show you just 2-3 short exercises, what you can do. For example, when you are tired after the homework or before starting a new project, sometimes our brain needs help. And instead of using, for example, coffee, that I also love, but I also try to help my mind with my body. So I would like to ask everyone to participate. And the first, well, maybe this is easy one, maybe not. You put 2 fingers of one hand and 2 bottom fingers of another hand. Try this. Good. So the top on the top fingers on the top, a little bit above, and yeah, good. And now you make them closer. All right, that works. And when you take them apart, you change. All right, and then again. And then when you take apart, you change. So every time they go apart, you change the fingers. All right? Well, do it with your speed. It could be challenging. I haven't done it for a while, so it's pretty hard for me as well. Do you feel something is moving in your brain already? Yeah, well, it's intense. It's actually to balance our left and right brain parts, because as you know, we are all different and we are using differently the brain. So sometimes we need to balance it. All right, you're doing great. Okay, so the next one is one hand is these 2 fingers and the other hand is these 2 fingers. Okay, everyone got it? Okay, so now you change it. Good, and again. Well, I can give you a hint. These fingers always remain, so you need to focus only the other 2 fingers. So you don't move they are always there. All right. I like it. Thank you very much for your participation. Well, this is needed as for you as for me. Today is Friday. It was a long, intense week. What else? We also have another exercise to balance left and right side of the brain. Is left hand. You take this finger and you put it on the left nose. And you just breathe for maybe 15 seconds. Normally it should be 30 seconds each side, but now I will just check time for 15 seconds. So you close one side of the nose and you're just breathing. And now we change the hand and the side. So it should be always the same hand and the same side. All right. And the very last, well, I know so many. I can share a lot of these exercises with you. It's just really, they're really helpful. For example, when I have multitasking, I have multiple projects at the same time, but I need to focus on one to make it to make it in a better quality and faster. Well, this something that you can use at school and no one even will notice is basically you put your tongue to the, I don't know this, like you press your tongue to the top and you just breathing through nose. So sometimes at work, I even write and I do this, no one even notice, but this is basically the focusing you. Let's do it for 15 seconds. All right, how do you feel now? More energized? And the very last one, this would be really for energy, because before what we were doing, it was mainly for balancing the left and right brain, but now we need energy boost. And I do this, for example, in the airport when I'm tired, but I still need to focus, is like pulling all the energy from your body to the very moment, so you will use it. All right, this is hard. Prepare yourself. And normally it should be 1 or 2 minutes one side and 1 or 2 minutes the other side. Now we will just do 30 seconds each side, but hopefully you will get the sensation of energy burning. So it is by tongue. We are rotating the tongue above our teeth. And we are breathing through the nose very deeply. So let's start in one direction and then I will tell when to change the direction. Let's go. If you start feeling here some pain, it's okay, keep going. And now change the side, the direction. Well done. Have you felt anything here? Yeah? Yeah, good. You literally massage your brain. It's really very effective. And finally, one hand, another hand, and all right. Well, I don't know where are the students, but today we have very exciting lecture, so they're missing their opportunity. Well, I suggest starting because we have a lot of cool stuff to see. All right, so let's start. I hope you can see my screen. All right. So today we will be speaking about circular economy and eco-design. And during previous lectures, I was mentioning these concepts a few times. So today, finally, we will take a closer look. What is it and how we can use it? Or maybe it will inspire you to open your company or maybe to change something at the products that you have at home, or maybe your parents or friends are producing. So the Sustainable Development Goal number 12 is about the responsible consumption and production. And this one of the key goals that is representing the circular economy. I'm pretty sure by now most of you have heard about reuse, reduce, recycle. Please write 1 in the chat if you have heard about these words, and 0 if not. Please write to the chat 1 if you have heard about reuse, reduce, and recycle, and 0 if you've never heard about it. All right, so you see, you already know the Sustainable Development Goal number 12, because these words, they are basically summarizing the key concept of the Sustainable Development Goal number 12. And on the right side, you can see detailed targets of this goal. We won't go right now through them, but the key idea you already know. It's basically reduce, reuse, reduce, and recycle. So why we would need to do all of this is basically to improve the efficiency of product design that we have by now. And we need to improve it to better use the natural resources and produce less waste and avoid creating toxic chemicals that poison the environment. So sometimes you can hear even more terminology related to reduce, reuse, and recycle. And there is a recent scientific paper which summarized all of the concepts, and it ended up having 10 wordings, starting with re. So it's not only reduce, reuse, and recycle, it's also remine, recover, repurpose, remanufacture, refurbish, repair, resell, refuse. What is important to understand here is not just a combination of some words starting with re. There is a pretty important sequence of the steps. So we are not starting with recycling. As I was telling you, not all of the, right now, recycling is very limited in the world due to chemical and physical properties of the materials. So instead of focusing on the recycling, which could be the last step, we need to prioritize. And on the right hand side, you can see this graphic or picture that shows us that first of all, we need to reduce our consumption. So to reduce single-use plastic, for example, or any kind of material. For example, if you think about Coca-Cola can, which is made of metal, this is extremely expensive material to the earth. Metals are very rare, and using the metal can just for a single-use Coca-Cola drink, this has enormous environmental footprint. So in this case, even the single-use plastic would be better just because it has lower environmental footprint. So the idea is to avoid using single-use products and materials and try to reuse them longer so that the effort and the environmental footprint that was already done or opposed to the earth, it will slow down. So we will slow down the rate of extracting raw materials from the lithosphere. The next step, as I mentioned, it could be reuse. So we may think about the product design in the way that it's not just single use, but somehow we can reuse it multiple times. And again, the idea here is to slow down the amount of the speed, how fast we are using raw materials and creating the waste. Then refill, for example, and to encourage people to refill their bottles or their jars, we need to think about product design that it would be nice, that people would feel attached to the product so that they really want to refill it and to use it multiple times. And then if something goes wrong, we shall be able to provide the product that can be repaired or repurposed. Sometimes we can replace one product by another product, and only then we think about the recycling opportunities. And unfortunately, if there are none, we can use the bin to throw it. But on the landfills and not to the ocean or to the forest. What is happening right now is basically that the world is living in the linear economy, as we may say it, and the target or the Sustainable Development Goals number 12 is basically to turn or switch to the circular economy. And what it means in terms of the use of the raw materials and not producing waste. So right now, for example, we take raw materials from the earth crust, we create our products, and most of the cases we just dump away the waste. So it means that there is a linear behavior for technological and biological materials that we are using. But we need to remember that we are finite in space. We have limited amount of materials. So that's encouraged the creation of the circular economy concept that's saying, first of all, let's understand that we have technical nutrients, and mainly it is metals or paper, and we have biological nutrients, which is our products and our food. And we need to think about both. It's not only about the technological problems with metals, it's also the way how we grow food and how we waste food. So instead of creating more and more waste, we need to make the processes more efficient. And basically, we need to switch or try to get the energy for this production from renewable sources. Let's move on. And even though the circular economy principles were quite popular in the world, and as I was mentioning to you, it was already implemented in the USSR, and I have written a book chapter in English. So if any one of you would like to read about this, just let me know and I will send you my private copy. But the concept became worldwide famous thanks to Ellen MacArthur. She's a sailor, and she used to go into the world yachting alone. So she's solo sailor. And when they do this, sailing around the globe, they take all the food and all the materials that they may need during 1 month for entire trip. And what she realized during the trip is just basically she saw how limited her resources and then how fast it's turning into waste. So the yacht is an analogy of our planet. It's just smaller, but the idea is the same, that we need to realize that our resources are limited. And then instead of helping regenerating these resources, we are basically creating the waste. And this concept obtained its classical form that you can see now. And basically, this is what I was telling you. On the left hand side, you can see the flow, the cycle of the natural or biological nutrients as a food. And on the right, you can see the flow of the technological nutrients. Let's say it is raw materials such as metals. And the idea is to make cycles of reusing, recycling, in order to maintain the metabolism of the planet instead of just wasting and increasing the landfill size. So we can take a closer look how we can produce products more sustainable. And this is the first conceptual question that shall be asked by the board of the managers or board of the directors of any company. First is to ask, if our product or product design is sustainable now. And if not, to set a new mission for the company so that the company will support global sustainability. Speaking about the sustainability, field of sustainability, I was mentioning you a few times that we need interdisciplinary experts, and we need to enlarge our vision. It's not only product designers, it's not only architects or engineers. It is bigger vision that we have to think about the design for people, for culture, for planet and economy. And just in a few slides, we will take a closer look. What does it mean? The design for people, for culture. Once we've created our new vision, the next step would be to define new goals. And when we are speaking about the goals, we like targets. So basically, we need to quantify our environmental impact. And now you already know how to do it, is to use life cycle assessment. But I will again remind you shortly, so that once you know your environmental impact, you can decrease it. And ideally, this should help to preserve environment or even regenerate environment. And to select new strategies, there are 40 main strategies that we will be working with today. So after today's class, I hope that you will have a lot of insights how to change the product, at least applying 1 or 2 strategies, but you will have a spreadsheet for 40 of them. So what we mean when we speak about the design for people, culture, biosphere, or economy. For people, it means mainly the mission for the marketing is how we can visualize what is relevant, what are problems the world is facing now, how our product is helping to solve these problems, so that we raise awareness by our marketing of the product or services. And it's not only providing information, it's also encouraging your clients or customers to become actively involved, so they feel encouraged to become a part of the solution. And as we know, all these movements, they start from companies, but they may really affect the policy or political decisions of the entire country. So design for people through marketing is really important. What do we mean by design for culture? It means that, first of all, we need to design products that would go across cultural barriers to promote universal understanding. For this, we need the same language, the same terminology, and basically we need to agree. What does it mean? Reduce, reuse, and recycle. Right now, for example, this is used as a cultural shift, because no matter in what country, you already heard about these words. But what is important is that we need to agree what it means, so that we will move from unlimited consumption to new definition of prosperity and growth. The biosphere, well, in the biosphere dimension, we think about the efficiency, how we use raw materials. So we need to minimize our environmental impact. We need to increase the productivity of the product, minimize toxicity, improve recyclability, and we need to prevent environmental contamination. And this is very closely linked to the economical dimension, because by improving the efficiency of raw material waste or raw material use, we apply more energy efficient technologies, and this just costs us less. So it's a win-win strategy. Well, before I move further, let me ask you if you have any questions here. All right, I move further. So here, when we speak about the design for people, We need to provide transparency about our projects, about the results. We need to provide long view, how long this project can support the clients. We need to address needs and use of the clients, their desirability for the product, so that we would create the product that people will feel attached to, so that they will prolong its usage. And we need to think about the, for example, conflicts, as we were speaking about it before, conflict area materials, or if your product can create any contacts in culture, or on the positive side, can create a positive impact to move, to make a cultural shift. And here we come closer to the culture. And for example, this is the bracelet that is made of recycled plastic and glass that was collected from the ocean. So by buying this bracelet, you are supporting the ocean cleanup activities. And this is already a big cultural change. So it enlarges your vision. It may change your behavior, so that next time you would be encouraged to recycle your plastic instead of just throwing it away. And basically, you want to think what actions your project is promoting, or your product is promoting. If there are any emotional reactions that can be improved or encouraged, or also if this somehow could lead to negative reactions. And for example, the inclusiveness of waste pickers is really important, as sometimes we still tend to think that this is a dirty job, or we don't basically respect people who work on the waste collection stations or recycling, just because we poorly prepare our bottles. Let's say if you have the yogurt, plastic yogurt bin, or I don't know how to call it, you have to clean it, because we can recycle only clean containers. And if it is not cleaned, it is, first of all, it will be likely thrown away, because at the waste collection plants, it is more expensive to clean the products rather than to recycle them. But on the other side, it is can be toxic for people who work there. So it is unhealthy environment when we don't clean and we don't separate accordingly as it is asked by the place where you live. And we need to think that it's not a machinery. By now, I think almost 60% of the waste separation for recycling is done by hands. And everywhere in the world, by hands, it is more efficient than by robotic selection. So we need to respect the people who work there, and it is also the design for culture. So for example, I'm just, it came to my mind, when I buy yogurt here in Barcelona, there is a company that sells the yogurt in the plastic container, but the rope is made of carton, and it is really easy to take it apart. So the product design is already thought about how the product will be recycled, so I can easily take apart carton from the plastic. And this is also important for, like, as a design for culture. What do we mean by saying design within the biosphere? And here again, the concept of the planetary boundaries. And by now, I hope that you get familiar with this every class. So I really hope that you will remember that it's not only climate change that we are trying to mitigate, it's also ocean acidification, biodiversity loss, land loss, and freshwater use loss. And how we can adapt our products to respect these boundaries. Right now, you can see a different checklists for different strategies. And one of them that we discussed in more details is basically to minimize environmental impact at every life cycle stage. And this is important to remember that the entire life cycle, it starts not only from your product production, but it starts from the mining of raw materials, processing, designing, production, use, but also extended responsibility means that you facilitate the collection of the waste and promote its recycling. And just to remind you, as you already know, this is according to international standard, which helps us to identify how we can make our technologies more efficient and cheaper. And this you already seen is just again that there are many softwares that can be used to make this numerical assessment. So the next strategy that I would like to mention briefly is avoid using critical raw materials in your product design. There is a list of critical raw materials, and it was upgraded in 2020. It is relevant to Europe, but basically right now there are more than 20 elements, and basically there are metals that are considered limited in the lithosphere or limited due to political some questions, because you know most of these metals, they are mined in Africa, South America, or China and Russia. So for Europe, to depend on the availability of these metals is critical. The economy depends on the availability of these metals. And that's why they made a list of criticality. And it is highly advised that when you design your product, you check if you have any of these elements in your products. Because if you do have, you may have problems for your business, because at one day you maybe not get enough supply. And these elements, they are very important because they are being used in different industries, such as aerospace industry or defense. It's almost all of these materials are highly important for the defense and aerospace, for the electronics, for the automotive, for the energy intensive industries, and renewable energy. As I was mentioning you a few times, we need to think about the renewability not only in terms of the energy that is used, is a wind or solar or water. We need also to think how we transform this energy into the electricity. And basically the technological design, which involves critical raw materials, is not sustainable. So we need to think about the replacement of these critical raw materials, or if it is impossible, to extend the life of the product as long as possible. What else? Here we have one of the strategies is dematerialization, is basically design your product in the way that it will have less materials. And there is a beautiful example from Germany, when the transportation company who have big trucks to with actually refrigerators inside to deliver products to the grocery shops, they assessed environmental impact assessment, and they found that their cars are too heavy, so that there is a linear relationship between the weight of the car and how much fuel it needs. So they hired the group of engineers trying to see how they can make the weight of the car lighter. And they replaced some materials, and they upgraded the refrigerators, and they were able to decrease the weight of the cars by 16%. And this impacted on the long-term sustainable results, which is basically less use of fuel. And it means that it is less cost for the company. And this is a very significant savings, because in the transportation companies, the fuel is one of the key expenses. But also this economic benefit is directly linked to the environmental benefit, because it's not only the price of the fuel, is also the greenhouse gas emissions that emitted from the transportation industry. So it's again win-win solution, and the question is just how to optimize or to decrease the weight of the products. Another strategy is to slow cycle strategy is basically to make products last longer. So that, for example, iPhone, it's really last long, and this could be considered as a slow cycle strategy. The longer we are using the same products, it means that less we need to extract from the lithosphere or to waste. Or basically, this is on the right-hand side, you can see the graphic that shows the linear economy from the product to the waste. Recycling economy is basically try to slow down the use of the resources by recycling, by better product quality. And finally, the goal is someday to achieve circular economy. It's basically to completely close the resource loops. But of course, as we discussed from the periodic table of the elements, is not always possible. So we need to be critical and understand that circular economy maybe is not always the solution. So at least we need try to focus on the slowing down the pace of the resource use. And one of the examples of, we would call it recycling or reusing materials is the art of famous Gaudí. I'm pretty sure you have heard about this artist. He lived and worked in Barcelona city. And by his art, he was promoting already that time the reuse of materials. So he would always try to use the waste materials from factories, and he was reaching himself different facilities trying to collect the materials that were otherwise be discarded and wasted. And it was ceramics, it was glass, it was different piece of, mainly it was glass and ceramics. And right now it's a Spanish heritage, all of these sculptures and benches which are decorated with this mosaic from reused materials. And this is a double strategy, which is one for the culture, that when tourists come, they learn from the guide tours that this is made from the reused materials. And also it is for environment, that we can use the materials instead of just wasting them on the landfills. Before I go on, just I'm curious, write in the chat 1 for yes and 0 for no, if you have ever been to Barcelona. Not yet? All right. Well, I would love to invite all of you to travel to Russia, to Barcelona, and hopefully soon we will be more open with these quarantines and COVIDs. But Barcelona city is very artistic, I would say, and it's also very inspiring for creative thinking. And this example, I just wanted to show you that we can apply the circular economy concepts even to art. So it does not really matter if you're producing the electrical devices, or you have manufacture, or you produce online products, or if you are artist, everywhere you can apply the principles of circular economy. We have also other strategies like bio-inspired strategies, where we try to imitate nature, and this is called biomimicry. And on the right hand side, you can see image of a shark. And what scientists did, they basically found the structure of the skin of the shark, because if you think and compare sharks to whales, you can notice a very big difference. In the whales, there are always many fish around, or some algae or some shells may grow on the whales, but you will never see it on the sharks. So something is special about the skin of the shark, and scientists found that basically the surface is so smooth that it repels the bacteria and algae just by its physical properties. So right now, nowadays, scientists already reproduced these materials that are imitating the skin of the shark, and they use them in medicine, in the clinics, so that they don't need to use disinfectants, which also need the production and they create waste, but just by itself, the materials, they repel the bacteria. So it's disinfection by design. For example, bio-based strategy is when you think about the biodegradability of your materials. And here is an example. For example, in Mexico, like in Spain, we really like the sauce guacamole. It is made of avocado. So there are millions of tons that is wasted for the seeds of avocado every day. And avocado itself, it's also complicated agricultural field because it really requires a lot of water. And what is happening right now is the same as with cotton fields, that the wrong water management leads that avocado agriculture basically dries out our groundwater. But what one Mexican company did, they decided to collect all the seeds from avocado and to use them and to produce forks and knives for disposal. Actually, it's not even single use. These products you can use few times, and they say that basically it can last over a year. But after a year, it can be biodegraded. So this is both long-lasting product and the biodegradable. All right, so this is basically the same image that you have already seen, that we need to think not only about the technological raw materials like metals, but also about the biological materials such as food. And the key messages here is just we need to change the way we use, not even use, but before use, we need to understand that both technological and biological nutrients, they are limited. And what is unlimited is our desire. So this is something that we need to change and to go from the consumption, over-consumption economy to sustainable economy that would apply all these principles of reusing, reducing, and recycling. All right, so this is, I think, the end of this big part. Let me check. Okay. I would like to ask you if you have or know any kind of examples of biodegradable products or products that you feel emotionally attached, so that you would take care longer and better about them, or any kind of examples that you may think based on these strategies. Please turn on your cameras, everyone. Thanks, Williams. Thanks, Michael, for having your cameras. Really, really helpful. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Fernando. So just any kind of product that may come to your mind, think what kind of strategy you could say what was implemented.
Well, I think in Japan, there's a newspaper that if you plant it, there's a small tree that come out like a sprout. So what they do is the inside of the paper, there's small seeds that grow into a plant.
It's a beautiful idea. I think it also depends where it will be wasted, this paper. If it end up at the landfill, I don't think it will grow, but the idea is beautiful. Because you know the problem with the biodegradable products, for example, you were mentioning the last classes that, you know, bags are made of biodegradable plastic, of mushrooms or algae. That biodegradability depends on the conditions, and biodegradability is not in the ocean or not in the forest or not in the landfill, but it should be done in the biodegradable plants with specific temperature. Normally it is above 30 degrees, and depending on the material, it takes 1-2 months for biodegradation. So whenever we have a bag in our hands saying it's biodegradable, it doesn't mean that if we waste it on the landfill, it will biodegrade. Because on the landfill, you know, the conditions are different. There is no such high temperatures. And most importantly, there is no oxygen, because biodegradation needs oxygen. And on the landfill, the layers are so packed that there is no oxygen. So basically the materials, well, the plants cannot grow because they need oxygen, and biodegradable materials cannot biodegrade because also they need oxygen. So the idea is beautiful. I just not sure how it is implemented, because it means that you need to, I don't know really, like how would you expect these seeds to grow on the landfill or somewhere, or where? Like where you need to put this newspaper to expect these seeds to grow?
Well, I think this is not my idea. This is already happening in Japan. So I think what they do is they bury the newspaper. So usually newspaper is used for like, you know, you just throw it away, right? But there you just plant it and then the seed will come out.
Well, yeah. As I tell you, I'm very skeptical to all the sustainability. I like the idea, and thank you for sharing. And this is important also to think critically about it. So we need to think like how and what conditions that we need to create that this idea would work. So far, I don't really understand, like if they want to plant the seeds or plants on the wasteland, if it is to promote forests, it's also a little bit strange to go and put newspaper in the forest. No? So it's entire life cycle. That is the key message of our school, that we need to think about the entire life cycle of the product. Thank you for sharing. Well, right now, maybe, I don't know if anyone else has any ideas. Let's kill it. All right, then I'll share with you some of the examples that I found interesting in internet. And please let me know if you find it, if you know about it, or if it is something new. So this is a company in United Kingdom, in London, and there is a schoolgirl, Anna Bulus, that when she was finishing the last grade of her school, she noticed that there is a problem of gums on the street. Everyone is chewing gum and just wasting. And actually it costs millions of pounds to the economy of the city of London to clean the streets. And they estimate that to clean one gum out of the city floor, it costs about €0.50. So it's like extremely expensive. So there was a problem of contamination by the gums. And you might be surprised, but gums, they're made of plastic. That's why they're chewy. Because plastic, if you think about plastic, what it means, plasticity, it's chewing, so that's why it's made of plastic. And she ended up thinking that she can reuse this plastic and create some products So she encouraged people to collect the gums and to put them in the gum bin. And she also communicated the marketing. Why she would do that is to create new products, because there is almost 70% of the plastic in every chewing gum. So she could create pencils, cups, and even shoes. So there are like gumshoe you can find in London. And on purpose, it's made with a pink color just to remind us that it's coming from the gum. So these are some of the creative ideas. Speaking about the plastic, we already mentioned in the previous classes that the plastic contamination is growing. And right now we have already the big islands of plastic waste in the oceans, and there are islands of plastic in every ocean. Unfortunately, this is already happening, and most of the plastic is basically coming from the fishing industry. And if we take a look at how long will this plastic degrade, it takes, well, more than one generation to degrade. But we shouldn't care about how many years, because finally plastic is a synthetic material. When it degrades, it means it just decomposes into the microplastics, but it will be never biodegradable. So it doesn't matter how long time it takes to fall apart, because these parts will remain forever. And well, one of the attempts that we can do with the plastic is to recycle it. But again, now I will show you. Well, here you can also see my Instagram account, because some of this information from time to time I share on Instagram. If you want to follow me, is Ekaterina Markelova Eco. But as I mentioned you, the recycling is not really helping or changing the problem with plastic drastically. Here you can see on the right side how much of plastic has been produced in the world since 1950, and how much of plastic is being recycled by the end. And actually what we can see is only small portion, or only tiny portion that is being recycled and actually used. And most of it goes straight to the landfill, or even worse, it goes directly to the ocean or to the land. So recycling here is a good motivational step, but what we need is to change our habits to to try to use less plastic in general. And for example, what happens when the plastic comes to the ocean? It degrades into the small parts of microplastic and even nanoplastic that are being taken by phytoplankton. Phytoplankton is the chain of the for the trophic food chain for the entire animal kingdom, so that the microplastic end up in fish, and then fish is a food for whales and big fish. And then at some point we are eating all these fish. So right now microplastic is already found in placenta of pregnant women. And this is just demonstrates that we are forgetting that human is also part of the food chain, and that by contaminating environment, we are contaminating our own bodies. So this, I would say, chemical impact of plastic on our health and the health of environment, but there is also physical. And physical is also causing a lot of problems to sea animals, so that some birds and some sea life animals, they can get trapped into the fishing nets or into the baskets or into the bags, or they can swallow it and it will block their stomach. So they would not have the instinct for hunger. They would believe that their stomach is full and they die from starvation. So there are different problems related to plastic. It could be chemical, it could be physical, but anyway, recycling is becoming more popular, and we see that many new brands are calling them sustainable because they try to collect the plastic from the ocean and to produce their products. I wonder if you know any famous companies that do that collect plastic from the ocean and create their products. Have you heard about any? All right, if you haven't, I will show you. This is Adidas. I'm sure you know this brand. So what they do, they have a project to collect marine plastic, and then they, basically they separate it based on the quality of the plastic, and they are able to shred it into small pieces to finally make the polyester yarn. And polyester is basically the material that is used for most of our clothes and shoes. And they're already doing it for last almost 5 years. And here you can see some of the products that are made of the plastic that was in the ocean. It could be winter jacket, it could be running shoes, it could be even the t-shirts for the soccer teams. And I hope that from now on you will pay attention, and if you hear in the media, you can remember more examples. And this beautiful dress on the left, it was also made from recycled plastic, and it was produced by Calvin Klein. So it was a big cultural shift when, it is still a big cultural shift when we promote and support the use of recycled materials. And another ideas what we may change in the product design is sometimes that the design is too complex, that we cannot recycle products because they contain too many different materials. And as I was telling you before on the 2 lectures before, that the goal of the recycling is to take apart different materials so that later on they can be reused. And what happens, for example, with this milk carton packaging, that it is basically a composition of different materials, including aluminum, plastic cups, plastic layers in between, cardboard, and it is almost impossible to recycle. Only a few countries that are dealing with recycling of this complicated packaging, so that if you go shopping and there is a choice for milk in this packaging or in just a plastic or glass, I would prefer taking the single material packaging, because single material will be likely recycled, either plastic, either glass. But if it is something that complicated, most likely it will be just wasted. And there is another example, Go Green company, that are saying that basically many companies claiming that their cups are made of carton, so it's like paper cups. But what we don't really think about, what makes it impossible to recycle, is sometimes, for example, there are leftover of the drinks, so it's dirty and it's contaminated, so this will never be recycled. Some parts of this unwashed, it's also cannot be recycled. Often there is an inner layer of the plastic so that it will hold the liquid. And you know, an easy step to understand if your cup is truly paper or it is a combination with plastic is to take it and to rip it. And if you can rip it, it means that it's made of paper. And if you cannot, it means that there is a thin layer of plastic. So this is a simple test to see if it is a single material or it's a mixed material. And of course, we have these lids, cups on the paper cups. And most often it is made of polystyrol, which is plastic number 6. And actually, when it gets heated by high temperatures, it's becoming toxic. So my personal recommendation to you, never drink through the plastic lid of the coffee cups, it's better always to remove it and then drink the drink. And also polyester, number 6, plastic is not being recycled. So these lids, they're just single use. So right now in Barcelona, what I can see is when I buy coffee, I'm always asked if I want a lid or not, because this is now recognized as a problem. That first of all is a single use, second, you cannot recycle it, and third, if it is too hot, you may get poisoned by it. So instead of it, it's better to buy your own coffee mug and try to use it as often as possible. Write in the chat, please, 1 for yes and 0 for no, if any of you is using your coffee mug, or at least maybe your friends, if you know anyone who is using a coffee mug to refill it with coffee.
I think I'm not using coffee mug anymore, but do you know about a straw made of stainless steel?
Yes.
So I use it. I don't use plastic anymore. I use that.
Good. Why do you use straw? What kind of drinks do you like?
In here, you know, McDonald's usually they provide plastic straw, but not anymore. So when you drink it like that, it feels cold on your mouth, on your teeth. So you use straw, but they're not provided anymore. So I must bring straw to McDonald's.
Do you do this? Do you really bring your straw?
Yeah, sometimes I bring it.
Oh, that's amazing. I think it's a good example to your friends and to
Yeah.
McDonald's as well. Very nice. Thank you. All right. And the last example is to use biodegradable materials as seeds of wheat to produce actually the car. It's a Canadian company, and yeah, it's really good opportunity or alternative how to replace use of metals by biodegradable materials. Well, for this, I would like to stop sharing my slides, and before we go to a short break, just please share if something has surprised you or any kind of examples were interesting for you. I would love to hear your feedback. Or did you know all of these examples already?
I think, yeah. I think the Adidas one, it's already in market for a long time. Yeah.
And with the gum?
Sorry?
With the gum shoes?
Oh, no, the ocean shoes, you know, Adidas with Parley. No,
Yeah.
it's actually a lot more cheaper than the actual shoes that Adidas produce, you know.
Have you ever bought these kind of shoes for yourself?
Yeah, I have one.
That's amazing.
One. Yeah.
Thank you. Would you buy shoes made of gum? Did you know that our chewing gums have plastic?
I don't know.
I thought it was from like a rubbery substance, you know.
Well, all the rubbery substances is a polymer, and plastic is just the one general term for all the polymers. So yeah, that's correct.
How about the dental gum, you know, like a mint gum? Is it use plastic as well?
Yes, it's all the polymers. So just the plastic is.
But you eat it from like a mint, so it's kind of toxic.
Well, there are two effects. One is physical, another one is chemical. From the chemical point of view, this is not posing the health problems because not every plastic is toxic. There are many varieties of the plastics, and this one that is used in chewing gums, it's not toxic. But now we know about microplastic. So this could be the problem as a physical degradation of the chewing gum, that we are chewing the microplastic. This could be a problem. But this is so new that there is not even enough information about that in science. Yeah. All right, then let's make a break. And can you write to your friends where, because I don't see everyone attending the class, so I'm not sure why. Could you check if someone can join us, because we have very important group activity now, but I will start it after the break. So see you in 10 minutes and hope to see more students. All right.
Okay.
I'll start sharing my screen. Let me know if you are back. Please turn on your cameras. Is anyone back? Please write in chat. 1 if you are back and 0 if you're not. Come back. All right, Ryan is here. Fernando. Good. Well, I will start. William is here, also good. Shirley. All right, let's continue with the class. And basically, what we want to know about the product that we would like to upgrade is we need to know the entire life cycle, and understanding the materials that are used for its production, but also for packaging is very important. And let's take a look at this design of the phone just briefly. For example, the Fairphone is a company that is claiming to be sustainable and responsible. First of all, I hope you remember the video that we watched, that they mine tungsten from conflict-free zones. And also what they do is they try to make design of the phone modular. It means that there are many modules that can be replaced if some of the parts are broken. So it means that by replacing some broken parts, you can prolong the use of the phone. And this could be the slow cycle strategy or even closed cycle, because also what they do is they think about future recycling, and they make from the very beginning the design of the phone that it can be taken apart so that it can be recycled. So right now I would like to do a group activity with you. And basically, I would like to introduce you the Ecodesign wheel that is somehow repeating the steps of the life cycle of any product. It starts from the raw material, number one, processing, manufacturing, transportation, use and application, product life extension, end of life disposal, and in general, the new concept for the development of the company. So as you may see, there are 8 directions that you can consider for upgrade in your company. And each of the directions has 5 layers, 5 levels. It means that there are at least 5 strategies within every direction. And what we will take a look is to look at all of them and brainstorm what you can change. So here is already the final result, that how you work with the Ecodesign wheel. Basically, you compare the old product with the new product, and you are drawing the shapes that represent the level of the sustainability. And for example, here the gray shape is for new Ecodesign product. So the bigger the area, the better. And the smaller the areas, like red, is for all design. What these areas means? It means how many sustainable strategies are implemented in your product. So more strategies, the bigger the shape of this wheel. And of course, it's impossible to target all of the 5 outer layers, but we at least can consider what we can change and compare with what we had before. Here you can see 5 levels for each strategy. For example, for the direction raw materials, number 1, You can think with your team of engineers if you can use secondary materials instead of the raw materials, if you can use recycled materials, if you can use biodegradable or renewable materials, use conflict-free materials, avoid hazardous and toxic substances, and avoid critical raw materials. So this is basically the checklist that you can discuss with your team for potential improvements towards more sustainable product design. Let's say I won't read all of them, but which one I wanted to cover? Just a second. Number 4, it's transportation. And the first strategy is to think about how you can integrate packaging design into product. Because most of the time what happens in the companies, someone is producing, let's say, the phone, but someone else in other company is producing its packaging. And sometimes it's ridiculous how we package our products, so that ideally the packaging design shall be already integrated into the product design. And here we can think about optimization, how we can use less packaging or how we can reuse it, how we can change the transportation navigation, how we can optimize the routes, or how we can support local providers of the materials so that we buy local materials. We can think about the energy efficient transport mode, or even smart logistics with artificial intelligence that is used, for example, by Amazon. So all of these can be considered as part of your product design. And that's what we will do now, is just brainstorm and share our ideas. Well, since we are not that many students, I think we better stay all together. And I will just send you the web link so that you will go and open the PowerPoint slide online. And there we will discuss what kind of product we would like to upgrade to make it more sustainable. And we will need to dedicate some persons. So it will be teamwork with shared roles. Someone will be reading the strategies, someone will be drawing on the wheel, and someone will be presenting the summary, the comparison of key takeaways from the old and new product. And of course, everyone is actively discussing and suggesting any ideas. All right, so right now I will send you the web link into the chat. Well, I will send it here, but also in WhatsApp, whatever is more convenient for you. Please follow the link. All right, I already see some people appearing. So, well, so far I can see only one student. Let's wait a little bit longer. Let me know if you have any problems of accessing the link. Shall be okay, no? I see 2 students in the link. I need everyone to go there. Okay, 3 students, waiting a little longer. Please let me know if you have any problems of accessing the link. Okay, I don't see everyone there. Maybe write in the chat, please, 1 if you are there and 0 if you are not there, if you don't see the PowerPoint slide. Okay, good, good, good. All right. Okay, so that's correct that I can see only 3 students and only 3 of you wrote me that you have an access. What else with the rest? Guys, we are waiting for you. Shirley, do you have any problems with connection? Okay, Ryan is there. All right. Good, good, Fernando. Shirley, we are waiting for you. Please join the link.
I'm already joining the
Oh,
link.
okay. Do you see the slide?
Yes.
Okay, then it's would be good if you write us one that I will know who is there, who is not. All right, you don't need to write it now. I think everyone is there, so I would like to ask some of you to share the screen. So we will work on the same screen. Who knows how to share the screen? Evelyn, could you?
I'm using my phone, so I couldn't
Yeah, from
share.
phone it's not good. No, we need someone else who is using computer. Hasim, yeah, thank you. And yeah, show us the perfect. So here is just an example of the checklists of the strategies that we will go through, and some of you will be reading all of them. So on the second page, Hasim, if you can go to the second page. Yeah, this is the template of the Ecodesign wheel. And we basically will first to think about the strategies that were applied in the old product. And for the old product, we will be using the red dot. You can see it on the left. You can move it. Yeah. And we will be putting it on the level 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's basically how many strategies have been included into the product. And you will just copy paste. So we will have many red dots. We will need 8 of them for each direction. And this will allow us to see the shape of the strategies for the old product. And then we will do the same by using green check mark. This will be for the new product. So let's decide who will be reading the strategies from the first slide. Someone who has computer, because yeah, the person who will be reading will be using the first slide, but we will be staying on the second slide. Michael, could you read, for example? Could you be our reading person?
Which one?
Well, we would need you to read all of the strategies, so you would direct our discussion. Basically, you would say from the slide 1, raw materials, and just name all 5 strategies, and we will discuss what can be changed or what is done. All right?
Okay.
All right, thank you. And we need to think about the product. If you have your company, or if maybe your parents have a company, or your friends, or a product that you like, or anything, let's have maybe 2 minutes to brainstorm and think what product you would like to upgrade. Please share any ideas. It could be bags, it could be pencils, it could be cars, phones, toys, I don't know, anything that you could be interested in.
I think I suggest cars.
Cars, okay.
Yeah.
well, since it's a group activity, I would really like someone to facilitate the discussion. So it shouldn't be me. Someone who would be encouraging you to share the ideas, and I will just follow if you would need my help. Evelyn, could you do that? Try to engage everyone for discussion.
Okay. Could you share the idea, Michael, about what kind of car and
Maybe because right now there's a resurgence in electric cars, so I think we could compare both old cars and the newer version car, which is more sophisticated also and more efficient in the eco design.
so anyone agree with Michael's idea, or does anyone have other idea?
Agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
Okay, we go with car. What's next?
Well, some of you, some who was shy to speak out loud before now, go to internet and find the photos of old typical car and new car, and please put these two photos or images on the second slide, on the left side and on the right side. And while someone is doing that, maybe Evelyn, you can ask someone to do that.
Rian, could you please search the image?
How can I share the image?
Let me do this.
Okay, I think Hazim.
Okay, thank you.
And who is our reading person?
Oh, it's me.
Okay, so maybe meanwhile you can start reading the first direction, number one,
Okay.
and yeah. So from now on, you're reading, and Evelyn is facilitating the discussion, and you're discussing what has been already taken into consideration in the old cars, yes or no, and what can be taken or improved in the new cars. And once you decided how many, like one strategy out of 5 or 2 or 3, you can put a dot on that line. All right?
Okay.
Let's try.
Okay, so in raw materials, the first dot is use secondary sources and recycle materials. The second point is using biodegradable or renewable materials. The third point is use conflict-free materials. Fourth is avoid hazardous and toxic substance. And the last one is avoid critical raw materials.
Maybe I would suggest to go one by one and discuss, yeah, by one, because it's a lot of information.
Oh, okay. So is the new car using secondary sources or recycled materials? For me, I think a company like Tesla, they didn't use secondary sources or recycled materials because I think it's a breakthrough product, so they have to manufacture it on their own. So maybe in the future they will use recycled materials, but right now I don't think that they're using raw materials. I'm sorry, secondary materials, right? Recycle one.
All right, so then it would be 0 for old product and 1 for new product. All right. And then when you discuss the second strategy, if it applies, you'll just move these marks, right?
All right. So what we did, what was the conclusion? That Tesla is using selection of low impact materials. Okay. No, but raw materials for me is are actually the same. To be honest, if you look at the conventional car, the raw materials in the conventional car is actually not that impactful compared to electric cars, because electric cars requires battery pack, and battery pack is more complex, takes more energy, and also requires mining, has to be imported from cobalt mines from Africa. So I think the initial cost of an electric car is more, but on a long term it's sustainable compared to a conventional car, because conventional car is actually made, everything is made actually in the assembly, right? There is
So
no,
yeah, you're right now covering all of the directions of the wheel. And when you're saying on the long-term use, we will come to this point. It will be 5. It's use and application. In the number 1 is just the materials that we use.
yes.
And you
So-
missed, but what you discussed is different strategies. So now we discussed only one strategy, which is use of secondary sources or recycled materials. And for example, critical raw materials, it will be the strategy number 5. So in order not to mix all of this, let's go one by one. For now, we just discussed the one strategy, use of secondary recycled materials. And we decided that for the old car is unlikely, but for the new car, we would like to promote the secondary recycled materials. And we are still staying in the same category of raw materials and moving to the second strategy. And the second strategy is use of biodegradable or renewable materials. So if you think it will be applicable, you will move the mark. But we need to be more clear what we mean, because what you covered is basically all the wheel. All right?
Yes.
Okay, so then let's start with the second strategy. Michael, please read and the group discuss.
Okay, so the second point is using biodegradable or renewable materials. I think cars didn't use any renewable materials, right? So I think in the 80s or in the 90s, they used a lot of woods, but I think a lot of the car get burned because they're using woods. So yeah, I don't think that the material is biodegradable or renewable.
Yeah. So this should be also 0, right?
Oh, it's still in the first. So in the first for raw material, there's 5 points. So we should go one by one. So if we think that they also use biodegradable, so we move that red dot to the second point, but not this one. I think it should stay in 0.
That's correct. So the red, since it is still first direction, the red one is staying 0, but the green one moves to the second level. That's what you discussed, right? That this can be implemented. Yeah. So in total, there are 2 strategies in the raw material section. The green one goes to the second. No, the same line, but second level. Yeah, here. And please discuss the third strategy.
The third one is using conflict-free materials. So what
Okay,
is
okay.
conflict-free
I get
materials?
what we're doing now. Okay, okay, I understand. Yeah, use conflict-free materials. Yeah, conflict-free materials means like, for example, that whatever you're mining is coming from legal process. There's no illegality in that. For example, there's no child labor or there's no mafia included in that. So that's conflict-free material. So I think there is more chances of conflict materials in electric cars than in conventional cars.
Well, yes, I agree, because I think the electric car is more complex, as you said before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the old car didn't use any conflict materials.
Yes.
So it means that the red dot would go to number 1 because
So yeah,
old
and
car, there is no use of conflict materials. But the green dot remains there because it's not relevant.
okay.
Okay.
So the fourth one, avoid hazardous and toxic substance. So do you guys think that the new car or the old car use any toxic substances?
Definitely, definitely electric car has more toxic substances because in the battery there is acidic substances, right?
I think they use lithium too, lithium battery, which is
Yes.
harder to recycle.
Yes, so when it needs to be recycled, I think it will be more complex to recycle it. The new car, electric car.
Well,
Yeah, I
guys,
think
recycling will be number 7, end of life disposal. Don't go there yet. Okay.
okay.
All right. I mean, when you discuss, it's really good idea. This wheel helps you to direct the discussion, so you don't jump from toxicity to recycling.
Okay.
All right.
I think the old car dot should be should move one level to the second tier. Okay. So the last point is avoid critical raw materials.
Same. The new car is using critical raw materials, but the old car was not using any critical raw materials in that scale.
Yeah. So I think the red dot should move to the third level. Okay. Now, anybody else want to chime into this? Any thoughts maybe? No. Okay. So we shall go to the processing or the materials. The first point, reduction in weight or volume. Yeah, this one is pretty easy. I think the newer car uses slightly less volume or weight in their materials.
No, battery cars, electric cars are more heavier than conventional cars because of the battery pack.
I think that's only because of the placement. I think they place it under the car, so the car itself, I don't think it's way more.
But we are talking about the overall weight of the car, right? The overall weight of the electric car is more than the conventional car.
Okay. Anybody else has a thought maybe?
No.
Well, it's true. It's complicated discussion because you can think both, every single element, and in the new cars, it weight less. For example, some of the nanomaterials are used, but in overall, it could be heavier. So this is something, this is something to discuss with engineers and to think both, like every single element and total weight of the car. So this just helps to navigate the discussion. And I like that you have different opinions and different scales.
So where should we put the dot?
Well, let's think as a total weight of the car, because it will impact the fuel. But if it is an electric car, it's also hard to compare. It's up to you. It doesn't really matter. There is no right and wrong. It's just to think what can be improved.
I'm sorry, I still don't understand like how we are doing this, the scale thing. So the red dot means the new car or the old car?
Old.
Okay.
And in the old car here, we see that there are more sustainable strategies than in the new car. This is interesting to see.
Oh, that's why it go up.
Yeah, like many levels, it means more strategies of sustainability are applied.
Okay.
Yeah, because in total there are 5. So ideally, the most sustainable product will cover all the wheel, so it will be all 5s, but this is impossible. This is very generic, so this is basically to think where we can improve.
Okay. So reduction in weight and volume, that will be
Level 1 for the old car and level 0 for the new one. Okay. For the next point, minimize material variety.
minimize material variety.
Yeah, I think for the new car, they use more variety of materials, so
Yes.
I think they stay there. And for the red dot should move up 1 level. Okay. For the third point is simplify the product.
The new car is more complex than the
Yeah.
old car, definitely.
Yeah, I agree also.
Yeah, I agree too.
Okay.
The fourth one, fewer or cleaner production consumables. Yeah, I think it's the same as before.
Well, I don't understand this point. Cleaner production consumables.
So the production, I think the production of the newer car, they are more complex. Thus, it's not very clean to produce. There's a lot of waste in making the cars.
Well, we cannot really say that. We are not really sure about that. Can we just increase 1 point for both, or we don't increase anything for this? What others says?
Yeah, I think both of them have the same waste. The waste of both old car and new car waste a lot of create a lot of waste, I think.
Yeah, so I think they both nullify each
Yes,
other.
okay.
So we don't increase.
Okay, so the last one is use low embodied energy materials.
Use low embodied energy materials. What does that mean?
Well, for this, we would need to have tables of the raw materials and to see what environmental footprint they have. We don't have this information. It's just for you to know that, for example, cotton as a textile has higher environmental impact than, for example, material from the wheat. And this would be like high or low embodied materials. But for this, we don't know now. So maybe just ignore this and don't move your marks.
Okay. So go on to manufacturing techniques. The first one is apply modular approach and nanotechnologies. Yeah, I think the newer car should go on this level. I think they use new approach in making the car. Okay, now the second point, use renewable energy. So I think the newer car, they use electric energy from solar panels. So yeah. The third one, design for remanufacture and refurbishing.
Remanufacture.
I think both car can be remanufactured easily.
Like it means like recycling?
Yeah, I think both part, I think the spare part of both car can be used for another car if fixed properly.
Mm.
So I think they both should go up one level. Okay. The fourth one, look for synergies of components or companies. What does this mean?
I think both have that, because automobile industry is usually very dependent on each other. Like one company produces tires, one company produces windshields, one produces the leather. So I think both moves on point.
Okay. The fifth one is affection process and fewer step and ways.
Process.
I think both of them should not go up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And this is something we really don't know, because we don't know how the assembly works, right?
But I think logically, the newer car should be more complex, right? Because they use like more technologies in the car.
There is more technology in the car, but definitely it's more simpler than the conventional car. Because in this conventional car, you had the engine, right? The engine itself is such a complex machine, but in the new car, you have an electric motor that is way simpler than the conventional engine, you know. So efficient process, fewer steps and waste. I think the new car should move one step ahead because of the simplicity of the car.
Okay. For is transportation.
Since we don't have much time, I would suggest you to go to number 5, because number 4 is less applicable because it's a car. So yeah, just go to 5.
Okay. So multifunctionalism. I think the newer car is more have more functions.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the second one is minimize leak and cycling losses.
What does that mean?
I don't understand this one.
Okay. Third one then, renewable energy,
Okay.
rechargeable batteries.
Renewable energy and rechargeable batteries, I think it's obvious. And then the fourth one, reduce clean consumables. Yeah, it's the same. The fifth one, identify label products materials.
Identify label product materials.
Well, this is about saying what kind of materials are used in the car. Because right now the recycling of cars is very complicated because people don't know what is made of. So it's a new responsibility of car production to, for example, if there is plastic, to say what kind of plastic, what number of plastic, and if there are metals, to say what kind of metals.
Okay, then I think the old car must be ahead of this because they're old, right? And they have been in the market longer, so they really know this more than the new cars. And the new car also has to think about how to uh, recycle the batteries, lithium, and everything. So I think the old car should move one step for this one. What do you say?
So number 6, product life extension. The first one is reliability and durability. I think for the newer car, we don't know yet, are there, is it more reliable or durable? I don't think that they
What do
are.
you mean by durability?
So they last longer for everyday usage.
Let's
Oh,
just go with the information we have right now. The old cars
actually,
have
Tesla post their video on YouTube about the durability, so they always test it.
the information we have currently is old cars have been since I think more than 100 years, right? The
Yes.
new cars we don't really know. We don't have that much of information. So let's just say that old cars are more reliable.
Yes. So the second point is easy maintenance and repair. I think the newer car is more complex to maintain because they uses more technology that we really haven't familiarized yet.
Yeah.
So
upgradability and adaptability.
yes.
Old
So
car.
the new, sorry.
I think the old car, right?
Adaptability. You know what? Just go on. The first one,
Okay.
stronger.
Let me say this way, for example, adaptability in the sense, for example, if you're going for a long drive and you don't have any gas stations, you can just pick some gas in your trunk, right? Fill some cans and take it. But with the electric cars, you can just move as much as there is the grids for your charging system. So you cannot really adapt until and unless you don't have the infrastructure.
Okay. So the fifth one is strong product user relations.
Classic long life design, of course.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is the classic long life. Yeah.
Strong product user relation. I think same old car, right?
I think the newer car also have a good product user relations. Yep. End of life tip. Number 7, end of life disposal. Clear disposal instructions.
It's similar to the last point.
Yep. Recollection system for old products or replace. I think the old car should move one level.
Same, I think, for this one also. The recycle design for disassembly, right?
Yes.
Reuse, refurbish.
Second hand, yeah, it's the old car.
Yeah, I think the old car is winning. Sell your waste to the other company. What else?
Yeah, I think it's also the old car.
Okay.
the last step, new concept development. The first one, dematerializations and transparency.
Well, this is in general to think what could be new directions for the company development. And this is helping in the overall, I would say, marketing, maybe, to think if the general dematerialization is something that you are holding on, or like transparency of your product design or your any kind of information that you have. If you provide new kind of services, instead of selling the products, you provide share use of products, let's say. So yeah, it can be like service instead of product. If you apply social responsibility and social sustainability, or if you collaborate with other production lines. So it's industrial symbiosis. So here it's very generic. What could be the future directions of the sustainability for the company? Maybe you can mark it or not. It's yeah, it's very conceptual question. What I would do now is I would connect the dots that you created, and we will see what kind of shapes we've gotten. So let me do this now. So for example, green dot, green, this is 0. This is here, this is here, this is 0, and here. Okay, so we have the shape. This one is for a new product for the electric car. And let's do the same for the old. Well, now I cannot see it. I will move it back. So it was 0 here, or is it 0, right?
Yeah.
Here, here, here. Well, fourth, wait a second. First, it's unfair to compare because we didn't discuss it. I will start again. This. Oh, I'm a little bit in a hurry, as you may notice. But we will make it. Why it doesn't work? I don't know why. Maybe some of you is trying to do the same, no? It doesn't work anymore. Please try not to do anything right now.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why it doesn't work. Yeah. Can I try from my side?
Yeah. Oh, now it works. Okay, something has changed. All right, this is the shape for the typical car. And now when we place back the shape of the, well, it's not that easy to compare actually. They're very overlapping at some points and less at other points. But now I would like you to take maybe just a couple of minutes to discuss if the new car is more sustainable than other, or maybe depends on the what life cycle stage you're considering. Yeah, like what are your key insights of this exercise?
Definitely. What I understand is new cars are still new in the market, and old cars have the advantage of a longer life cycle, and they have really kind of finalized their production system. But new car still is new, so definitely. they have that disadvantage. But in the near future, when there is larger adaptability, and there is also there's better way of extracting resources, then definitely this is more sustainable.
Thank you very much for sharing. Someone else?
I think right now we cannot tell yet is the newer car, like electric car, is it they are sustainable or not, because it's, I think, only developed in a short period, a long period of time, and they use more complex material right now. But I think for the future, I think it's the way to go, and I think it's more sustainable.
Thank you for sharing. Girls, what do you think?
I think, in my opinion, the car cannot be sustainable because it consists of 1,000 parts and also involved like complex process. So it's kind of hard to make it sustainable. But I don't know. I don't know more about the car actually.
All right, and someone else, the last opinion before my concluding remarks. All right, then, well, what I wanted to share with you is the importance that sustainability, it depends on the overall product or the specific phase of the life cycle of the product. And as we've seen, for example, for the raw materials, old car may be even more sustainable than the new cars. But for example, in the manufacturing, by applying new technologies, new cars may become more sustainable. So it's not advisable to make generalized conclusions. If one car is more sustainable than the other car, you have to look at the specific manufacturer, at the specific company, and at the specific stage or phase of the life cycle assessment. That's why this wheel, it helps us to really identify what can be improved. And I hope that you can use this wheel at least for brainstorming if you decide one day to create a more sustainable product. All right, so on this, I would like to end today's class and thank everyone for the active participation. I hope it helped you to see that when we speak about sustainability, it's really good to think about different stages, not to mix all together with recycling, with raw materials, with the product, with transportation, with packaging, because every stage has its own sustainability, all right? All right, then today there is a cultural program, and before you go there, please fill the feedback form. It's really important for me personally. So I would be really waiting for your honest feedback to see what can be improved later on. Thank you for the class and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Nice day.